Do you wish that all things wealth and finance were much easier to understand and not presented by a bunch of beige cardigan-wearing geeks? Welcome to the Clever Investor Podcast, where we're dishing up the easiest to understand finance program served in bite-sized chunks, so your brain will thank you as your knowledge grows. Hosted by the brilliant Owen Taylor, a multiple award-winning expert with a glorious knack for explaining the complex world of wealth in the simplest of ways.
Hey Clever Investors, and welcome back to another show. Today's topic is the benefits of having a budget. And it's not a complicated thing to do. I think we'd probably rather organise our sock drawer. And for most people, it's because we don't understand the benefits of it long term. Once you've done one, how simple it can be. And you don't need any complex equipment to do it. Now, this goes under the heading of that lovely old saying, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Budget is a personal financial plan. And just like any plan, it's going to be flexible. It will change with time. It's there to help you manage your financial commitments on a week-by-week, month-by-month basis. Having an effective budget means that you're analysing not only your incomes, but also your outgoings. So you can put a plan into place and make sure that the cash flow that you've got winging around you is going to be paying the important things in life. Now, budgeting is a critical skill that you need to develop over time. And I've used the word develop because like any skill, like anything that we start to learn how to do, you're not going to be really good at it in the beginning. It's also going to frustrate you a little bit, but you need to push through that. If you've ever learned how to kick a football or ride a push bike, you weren't brilliant at it first of all, but give yourself time and you're going to get used to how to do these effectively, quickly, and you'll start to then see the benefits of it. There are some simple tips and tricks that I'm going to take you through in another episode, but today I want to take you through the basic points of why having a budget is of great benefit to absolutely everyone. The major benefit of having an effective budget is you are controlling your money rather than your money's controlling you. A budget lets you know if you can afford what you've been spending your money on, and it's taking the guesswork out of it, and it helps you to save money. So your plan may include buying a property at some stage, whether it's an investment property or whether it's a property to live in. You know that you've got to put some money towards it by way of deposit. You've got to pay stamp duty and legal costs. So you need to have a savings plan. It's also showing you where you are putting your money and allows you to start to make the decisions to redirect some of it into that savings account or off to one side to prepare you for the gas bill. Another reason for having the budget is avoiding unnecessary debt. I've talked about this before, how there's two types of debt in our lives. There's good debt and there's bad debt. So just to cover that again, good debt is anything that you've borrowed money for and it's an appreciating asset. So, of course, the number one thing for that is you bought an investment property. Now, bad debt, items that you've bought which are depreciating over time. Another good reason for your budget is to help you pay off any debt that you do have sooner. This also includes your good debt and your bad debt. The biggest expense you're ever going to have when you borrow money is the interest bill. So the sooner you can pay off any loan that you have, your interest bill is going to be lower. Now, preference, I think, should always be given to paying off the bad debts than good debts. Another fantastic reason for having a budget is showing any potential lender bank, building society, credit union, that you're actually a nice low credit risk. If you've ever applied for a loan before, you have to list down where your money's gone. So you're literally doing a mini budget there. So if you've recently applied for finance, grab that application form out, have a look through it. You've pretty much done a budget there as well. The banks want to know where you're spending your money. They want to make sure that you're not living beyond your means. And there's certain items that you can pull back on as well. So things like Netflix or even gym memberships, you don't have to have them. You can drop them off. And the banks will look at this and they can appreciate these things as well. There's certain things within your budget that you can't avoid. You've got to pay the gas. You've got to pay the water rates. You've got to pay the rent. The best light that you can present yourself in, the more appealing that you make yourself look to any lender, it means they're going to potentially give you a much better deal. Now, my last item for why you should have a budget is really to do with your mental health. Being in a situation where you're struggling to make ends meet on a regular basis would absolutely wear anybody down. And that sort of ongoing worry is going to affect not only your mental health, but your physical health as well. It's regarded at the moment that 1 in 4 Australian households are in some form of mortgage stress. Now, what that means is they don't have enough income to cover what their mortgage repayments are and their other life expenses. Now, my personal opinion here is that most people can afford what their mortgages are, but it's the other items that they pick up along the way. And going back to my mortgage broking background, this is what I would see. I would often have clients coming back to me where I wrote their loan for them maybe 2 or 3 or 4 years previous. And then they call me back up and we do a review on their loan, or they come to me because they've got themselves into a bit of a pickle with the bank. And when we start reviewing their finances, they've accessorized themselves a lot. Bought themselves a new car, gone away on a holiday, but using their credit card to pay for the holiday. Now, all the items that I've covered so far are very important and very valid reasons for having a budget. But I possibly think the number one reason for doing it is to help your mental health. I would hear my clients saying that caused the largest amount of stress and maybe arguments within a couple were often to do with the financial side of life. If you're carrying this burden of not being able to make ends meet for a long period of time, it not only affects you mentally, it affects you physically. And certainly coming home to this environment every day must be absolutely tiring. Now, 1 in 4 Australian households are currently experiencing some form of mortgage stress. Now, that loose definition means that they haven't got enough income to make their repayments on their mortgage, but also all of the other expenses in their life. As I talked about before, it's, paying the car rego, paying the insurances, school fees, all of these other items too. Now, that's despite interest rates at the moment being at all-time record lows. If interest rates are to rise, and this is the thing that plays on many people's minds, that's where even more stress comes into their life. I don't really like the term of mortgage stress because I think it's putting a lot of blame on just the mortgage, which is often the most significant sized repayment that people are making on a monthly basis. But once I've sat down with people and had experience going through numbers with people, when you start adding together the pay TV and the gym lessons and all of these items, they can add up to, hundreds and hundreds of dollars just on their own each month. And if you can take those things off for a while, give yourself a bit of a reprieve, then that can help you start to get the ends back together. More than 80% of Australians may not be able to afford a comfortable retirement. And when you consider that medical advances means that we are all living a lot longer, we need to effectively plan for this longer life that we're having, for this financial future. So what I want to look at on an upcoming show is some of my top tips for goal setting and how you actually do it and how you also keep it managed long term. Hopefully today I've been able to highlight some of the benefits of budgeting. And remember, it is a skill. You're not going to be really good at it in the beginning.
You have been listening to the Clever Investor Podcast, proudly sponsored this week by Blue Wealth Property. Are you ready to start a new investment journey? Get in touch with the industry leaders, Blue Wealth Property. Blue Wealth have a proven track record in using research to identify growth markets, and Blue Wealth have supported thousands of Australians to buy the right property in the right market at the right time. Go to bluewealth.com.au.